So, Wilkins Freeman starts off her story, and it's in the afternoon. She's in her house. She's very busy doing some kind of sewing. It's called quilting. And the name of our first character is Louisa Ellis. And she's sitting by the window and she's doing this thing called quilting, which is you make a blanket covering out of a patchwork of different materials, sew them all together. They had these, sometimes women would get together and do this. It's called a quilting bee, where they would make their families these quilts, these very warm blankets for the wintertime. You still find them today. They're very valuable. Sometimes they had patriotic themes of stars and stripes and that sort of thing. But sometimes it was just a patchwork of different materials that they sew together. Okay, so Louisa Ellis is busy sewing. She's a very dainty lady, um, very obsessive about cleanliness, polishing things, cleaning windows, doesn't like any dust. Everything has its place. Everything's put in order. So this is very much part of her character. She has been waiting for her future husband. His name is Dagget, and he has been gone for 14 years. They got engaged. He says, I'm not making enough money on the farm. I'm going to go to Australia where there is a gold rush, another gold rush, and to seek his fame and fortune, or at least his fortune, anyway. And this is actually true. About 10,000 American young men left America to go to Australia in search of gold or other financial opportunities. We even had one of our past relatives that went down there, never came back. There's a whole bunch of family cousins that are down there in Australia, descendants of that first ancestor that went there for the gold rush in 1850s or so. So anyway, Daggett is one of those American fortune seekers that goes to Australia. It takes him 14 years to make enough money to come back. He is successful, but she's been waiting for his return for the past 14 years. She's been living alone, taking care of herself, taking care of her house, uh, and she has been become very settled in her ways of doing things. So, nevertheless, um, Daggett comes back. They are starting to prepare for the marriage, which is a month or so away. And he has his own house down the road where he and his mother live, and they have a caretaker that takes care of the mother. And the mother's kind of a cranky old biddy, complaining all the time. A tough, tough old bird, as they say. And so Louisa knows that when they get married, she's going to have to give up her small little house and move in to Dagget's bigger house with her mother, with his mother, and so she's a little thinks about that a little bit, concerned about how that's going to work out. So um, the story comes that Daggett every maybe a couple times a week will come back from farming and meet with Louisa, uh, share a conversation, have a cup of tea or whatever. And he comes in and he's really kind of a big, bulky guy. He's just the complete opposite of Louisa. She's very dainty and precise, and he's not. We have a saying, a bull in a china shop, and that's Daggett. Daggett's the bull in this very organized, clean house. He tracks dirt in. He kind of, there's a little table and there's some books, and he takes the books out of order and places them back in a different order. She reaches over and puts them back the way they were that she had set up. And that's how obsessive she is with her orderly little life. So um, when Daggett comes in, he makes kind of a ruckus noise that disturbs a little canary, a little bird that's in a cage. Whenever he comes in, the bird gets all excited and makes all kinds of noise until he leaves. Outside is a dog that has been with Louisa for years. His name is Caesar. And when Caesar was a puppy, he bit the neighbor pretty badly, and they were going to destroy the dog. But somehow the end result was they had to chain Caesar up in the backyard and never let him loose to be free. And she feeds him every day. She feeds him a meal made of corn, called corn cakes. He's pretty old now. He just basically sits in the shade. He's chained up. No freedom. Daggett doesn't like this at all. He wants to set the dog free. He says this is cruel, and it is. And she feeds the dog these corn cakes, but never any meat because she's afraid that it will awaken his wild instincts and he'll turn into a wolf or something. And she wants to keep him passive. Uh, so the story goes on, a little time goes by, they still have these meetings, they continue to plan their wedding, and Lisa is starting to worry a little bit about this getting married and moving in with the cranky old lady, and it's going to be really disruptive of her present lifestyle. But, you know, she made a promise, he made a promise, they're keeping their promises. It's a day or two before the wedding. Uh, Louisa decides to take a walk at night. And, it's again very descriptive, a very beautiful night. Uh, she is walking along this stone wall, and she talks about the orchard that she's passing by, and the sky, and the air, and very descriptive. So this stone wall has a lot of uh, trees that and grapes that kind of overhang the wall. So it creates these little alcove areas that are kind of out of sight, and you're in your own enclosed little environment. So she finds a comfortable place for herself, and she sits down to kind of take in the environment, quiet and peaceful, but she's surrounded by this overgrowth of trees and grapevines and that sort of thing. So she's kind of contemplating things, and she hears some footsteps coming down the road. She's not quite sure what to do. Does she kind of jump out and and show herself, or does she just wait to let the people pass by? She's kind of hidden away. Maybe they'll just walk by and not notice her. But it's here's the two people, and they find this little overgrowth alcove area very near her, so she decides just to stay there. And the two people are talking, and she recognizes that the voice is that of her dad, and he is talking to another woman whose name is Lil Dwyer. Now, Lil Dwyer has been the caretaker of Dagget's mother. So she overhears the conversation, and the conversation says uh, that Lil and Daggett have a kind of a romantic um, situation going on, unbeknownst to Louisa. And Daggett says, "Hey, I made a promise, and I'm going through with it." And Lil says, I understand. And Daggett says, you gotta should find somebody else. And Lil says, I'll never love anyone else but you, and I'm going to leave town. And Daggett says, hey, no, don't do that. Just, we'll just go on with our lives like this never happened, and no one will be the wiser. And I don't want to break Luis's heart. And that's trying to be an honorable guy, and that's just the way it's going to happen. But Lil, again, very strong character. She says, "No, I made up my mind. I'm going to leave, and I'll never marry anyone because I only love you." Now, Lisa is shocked by this. She doesn't say anything. Uh, the two characters, Daggett and Lil, leave. Louisa goes back home. She thinks about the situation. The next day, Daggett comes over as usual, getting ready for the wedding, making their final plans. And she never mentions that she overhears the conversation from the night before. Somehow she becomes very tactful and diplomatic. And basically, she says to Daggett, you know, really set in my ways here. Moving in with your mother to the big house is going to be really disruptive. I like my things. I like my lifestyle. I don't want to go through with the marriage. Okay, Dagget's off the hook. He doesn't have to say anything. And basically, um, Louisa does spend the rest of her life alone with her things as she wants uh, till the end of the story. So, a couple of symbolism things. Caesar is chained to his small little piece of the world. I guess you could say Louisa, by her choice, decides to chain herself to her created world for the past 14 years. And so basically, this is where the story ends. Uh, and the analogy is Louisa sat prayerfully numbering her days like an uncloistered nun. So, in a way, her lifestyle has become that of a religious female called a nun that would just stay in a church environment for the rest of her life. So that's basically the summary of the story. And so this really does parallel uh, our author's life in many ways. Okay.